Good morning, Jade.
Good morning. It's hang on 2 seconds. I'm gonna pass the earphone to Steve. The sound wasn't coming out very good this morning.
We were, we usually catch up a couple of minutes beforehand to make sure texts work and all those sorts of things. And normally we would have some sort of idea of what we're going to ramble about today, and we'd throw an idea out there. And this morning it was Jade threw her hands in the air and went, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to hit go, and it's all yours, Kyle. You've got to sort it out."
Yeah, she wasn't in a good way this morning.
I was just telling Kyle I was mildly dying this morning.
Yeah.
So Jade has had a bit of a rough morning. She's just been through a pretty severe asthma attack. Which when was the last time that happened?
I started having, I had some panic attacks recently where I get some asthma, but that sort of level, I couldn't tell you. Before Wild Fit.
Yeah, wow. It's a long time.
A long time, and it was pretty bad. Like, I was really coughing, and I was hitting that puffer, and it wasn't working, and I almost got to that panic stage because I used to be a chronic asthmatic as a kid, and I was pronounced dead when I was 3. They pulled the covers up over me, and that's a story for another day. But I started to get to that stage like, oh shit, is this puffer going to kick in yet? Like, it should have, after the first 2 hits, should have kicked in. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to lay down. Just going to lay down and breathe. And I just got to breathe through it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you're safe. And like, really had to kind of talk myself out because anyone that's got asthma knows, like, the anxiety is what kind of makes it worse, and like just heightens and heightens and heightens. So I think it was the talk down that got me in the end. And then I think I just convinced myself, I'm like, the next hit's gonna work.
Now, isn't that amazing that, we've got really good medicines that help us with all this stuff, but the thing that made the biggest difference was your mind?
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I think a lot of the time, the asthma, like the puffer, is the placebo. Like, I kind of can get myself to say, I can breathe through it. As soon as I hit that puffer, I'll be fine. And I just can't see how it can work as quick as it does sometimes. Like, and just like, feel like before it's even at my lips, it's already started to work. But I can often, I think I used to go out a fair bit without my puffer because after doing Wild Fit, I actually stopped getting asthma altogether. And here we go. We're gonna go on a food. I'm gonna go on a food thing. That's what this morning's about. When I changed my diet and when I went Wild Fit, and I'd been paleo and I'd been things before that had helped with my asthma, but I was still playing like high level sport. So, if I was doing a sprint session and the coach's goal is none of us stops until someone spews, like, the puffer was still firmly in hand.
Probably rather important.
Rather important. But once I went Wild Fit, and I think again it was that journey of the mind because of what Eric takes you through during that process and understanding things, and maybe looking at my relationship with my dependency, like a crutch, like a blankie, to take it everywhere. And going through that process, I kind of got off it. I was like, oh yeah, actually I don't need this. And then for years I would go places without it. Like, I accidentally went to Bali a couple of times without it, or this was a big eye opener for me. I was flying back from Bali one time, and I just thought I'd been delivering for a couple of weeks solid with 3 translators to 9 Taiwanese, and Jiang, my translator, may actually be in the group. He watches the 6 week solid on a couple of hours delay, but it was just heavy, and I was like, hey, good morning. And then I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a red wine, and they had like the I don't know what packet was called. It was like a little fancy packet. Like, you got olives, and you got cheese and bickies, and you got a little bottle of rosé, a little bottle of Shiraz. Oh wow, I reckon 3 olives in, I was like, there is a fuck ton of preservatives in all this. And I started, like, the tightness started happening and the sinuses started happening. And I was like, this is not good. This is not good. And then I'm like, haven't seen my puffer for a while. Where's my puffer? And then I was like, oh no, my puffer's in my board bag. Clearly the board bag's not in the cabin. It's under the plane. And then I'm like,
they're nearly going to that at the moment.
I'm like, it's a big plane. It's going to be a doctor on the plane. Someone on this plane's got to have asthma. It can't just be me. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. So I picked up the stuff and I started reading it. I'm like, oh, like just terrible. Okay, push the food away. I asked the lady to bring me some water. I'm like, breathe through it. Like, really had to do a big talk down and breathe it through. But 100%, like, I knew as soon as I remember that feeling of the preservative and the color asthma, like so.
Yep.
Yeah, and unless you're that sensitive.
So Eric and and certainly also Ben Greenfield talk about how things in your diet create inflammation. And so I was listening to to Ben talking to a doctor about a whole heap of things around inflammation, and talking about how the food just becomes this low-level, constant reaction in your body that creates this inflammation, and you won't even know that it's going on. There's just there's inflammation in muscles or in around the lungs and all that sort of stuff. And it's not until you start to take some of those things out of your diet that you actually realise how big a difference they have to your diet.
Yeah. Well, like, if you see photos of me from a few years ago, even though I was training as much as I was training, I looked, it's so funny, isn't it? Like, my face was so round and like my chest so puffy, and I weigh about the same, but I physically look so much different. Like, my face structure looks completely different because the puffiness is not there. Like, from having like the wheat and the things like that causes the big inflammation. The amount of water retention, like, just through here is just so different on me. And my sister like held up a photo of me. She's like, Jade 10 years ago, Jade now. Jade looks 10 years younger than the 10 years ago version. And it's so remarkable. But the other thing is, as most of you guys know, like, I've broken every finger on both my hands except for my left thumb. And so it's freezing right now. Mornings like this, my fingers would be so achy. Like, the arthritis in them would be so bad. Like, I'd be like, oh my God, they hurt. They just hurt. And I don't get any arthritis whatsoever anymore. Like, no feelings of the aches and the pains in any of the broken things that I had. And again, that's because of that inflammation.
Yep. And it's quite a controversial topic to talk about. Oops. I nearly disappeared then. It's quite a controversial topic to talk about because, the concept of what is good in our diet has changed a lot in the last, I don't know, probably 30 years. Like, we've been through all the different stages of it. And, like, we've had, fat's bad for you, animal meats are bad for you, certain plant stuff's bad for you, and we go through this whole cycle. And so, depending on, what generation you're from, and then also, what sort of learnt in your own sort of learnings is, what you believe, I guess. And it's quite controversial. You just spoke about grains being an inflammatory, and most people probably wouldn't realise that while grains for our community, for our society, have driven us forward, actually isn't really great for us.
No, and so you were educating me. I'd missed that part in the wildfit training about like why birds eat grains.
Well, so what essentially, when you go to the biology of what's going on between the animals and the plants that we eat, and so flour is a grain, is a seed that comes out of the wheat. And so the purpose of that for the wheat itself is to germinate somewhere else and grow another plant and, you know, prolong the species. And so as a seed for a bird or an animal that eats it, that seed is designed to pass through the body relatively quickly somewhere else so it can grow somewhere else away from the crop. And so, you know, when you start to think about, okay, there's a slight amount of, you know, irritant in that that's going to encourage it to process through you. So then what we do, you know, what we've done, and, you know, there's no doubting that this has been critical to the longevity of the human race. But what we do is we go and grind it up into a really fine powder. And so all of that irritant we now eat and consume, and because it's easy to digest, we actually end up with this inflammation from it. And so it's one of the big things that if you've got a really high flour-based or grain-based diet, that you'll just naturally have this inflammation because you can actually digest that instead of just process it out the back end.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if you saw the podcast I did with Jennifer Jeffries. Jennifer Jeffries has she's a naturopath, dietitian. She's got about 13 books, I think. Like she's
wow. No, I haven't seen it.
Right?
I'm feeling excited now.
So, okay, do you know, because you've got kids, do you know what ingredients are in paper mache?
Paper mache. Essentially, it is paper, water, and flour.
Yes. So what's the water and flour make?
Glue.
Glue, right? So she says, if you're putting water and flour inside of you, bum glue. Right, so that's your bum glue, and it's because what's happening, all those little particles, those inflammations, and the reason why it's causing inflammation, is getting caught on lining the inside of your intestines and your bowel, and it builds up over time, and it's just getting into your system, and then it's absorbing and it's swelling and causing the inflammation, and then it puts a coating on, which also then stops you from absorbing the good nutrients because you've got glue through your system.
Yeah.
And this is the other, I don't know if I was from her, but basically if you look at the developing countries, like the for lack of a better term, the poor countries, right? And if you look at what poor people eat, what is it? It's stuff to fill them up that's fast processed, it's heavily genetically modified, and it's to make you feel full. It's not nutrient rich.
No, it's just calories, and that's where I say that, you know, our race, our human race, would not have survived without having grains, feeding mass populations using flour and water and all those sorts of things, because, you know, it's as much as it's calories, it's empty calories, so there's not a lot of good stuff in there, and that's why, you know, we should be looking a bit more to a much wider range and variety of foods. And you know, like for me, you know, when I do my shopping, for the better part, I like to shop at you know, like a market type place. So, you know, my trolley's full of fresh stuff. There's not a lot of things that come in a packet, and I'm, you know, I consciously do that I make sure that even for the kids' lunch boxes, I try not to. Well, I almost exclusively have nothing that comes in a packet for their lunch boxes.
Yeah, and that's a mission, right?
It can be. It's a habit. It's another habit. You know, it's just about choosing. It's not hard. And, you know, the kids complain at times, but kids complain about whatever you put in the box. So.
Yeah, but this is like, it's just become such a convenience to buy the packets, and right, if you actually think through it, and you go, well, if it's so cheap to buy those packets, what, like, nothing good, like, we know good food costs money, right? We know good vegetables, good healthy stuff. Like, if you've ever done your grocery shopping, you understand that. So if you just think through that process, you go, what's got to be in there to make it so cheap?
And long lasting. And
long lasting.
And then, you know, like, so for me, the other thing with all of that packet stuff is the packet itself, is the actual packaging. You know, like,
You know, that's my.
as much, well, it's just about reducing the waste in what we've got. And, you know, I know I'm a bit out of sync at the moment in the new house, but where I was in the old place, we'd have one small bag of vegetable waste or plant waste that went in the green bin each week, and we'd have less than one bag of rubbish every week. And most people were blown away by that. And then you look up and down the street and people have got their bins overflowing every week. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Where does that all come from?
Yeah. Our recycling bin was always full. Rather empty now.
Well, see, we were even selling the bottles back, so
that's awesome. Yeah, our neighbour offered to come and sell our bottles back. We don't have a green bin here in terms of just the food waste bin. We have a green bin for plant waste. Can you? And this was a question I was going to look this up because I wasn't sure. If we put it in the compostable bag, can you put your food waste in that bin? Is that okay?
We can.
Yeah. So you're saying we can.
Yeah, we can, which is really, really good. So that means that you can have a bag that you can bag it all up and straight into the green bin, and then it goes out with the green waste each week. Yeah, beautiful.
Nice. I don't know why. Can you do me a favor? Can you turn my lights on and off? They're still going. I don't know why. Literally, this was me in the middle of the night last night. No idea why. Oh, I wonder if we're allowed to put food in the green bin, because are they making it into mulch, would the yucky rotting stuff be bad for that? And I have no idea where this thought came from. Nice. Because I had been putting the compostable stuff into the green bin, and then I don't know, middle of the night freak out. I'm like, I really should check that.
Nice.
Whereas my sister, like Ellie's area, they have an actual special bin for food waste.
Yeah, right. There's I've got to do some more research on it, but one of the innovation incubators here in Newcastle is developing a really small composting bin that doesn't stink, doesn't all that sort of stuff, and for homes. So I've got to do a bit more research on that and see how that looks. But it sounds really, really good, so that you've got, you're not just wasting it, so to speak. You can turn it into vegetable gardens and all that stuff. Yeah,
beautiful. There's a guy that I met that invented this, I think it's called Sub Pot. You see them at Bunnings. And it's like a little composting thing, but it's also like specifically for helping worms. Yep. And it's epic. And Byron Council is putting in like this whole big area of them.
Nice.
So yeah, that's really cool. But that's probably something that I would like to step up on. We're pretty good. I try not to buy things in packets. I'm very it's got too many packets, especially if it's individualized packets. And when I go down to the bulk store here, I take my own container and she weighs that before the kids can get their little things. And but I need trying to get better at that. And like won't buy bottles if they're not like either mineral water. Do you know how hard it is to get mineral water in glass now?
Yep.
I don't understand. Like even San Pellegrino has gone into plastic bottles.
They don't have it at Woolies. They don't actually have it.
Yeah, you can't get it anywhere.
If they do have it, it's not in the actual same in the same place as all the other sparkling mineral water. They put it in a different pot.
I think it's up there with the non-alcoholic wine. I know it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a hard line on the no. I'm not buying that. So I think my key takeaway for today is I've been talking about getting the third bin for the food waste.
We're getting and Bellin it today.
Thank you. Getting the third bin. Oh, you look at your sunrise. I've got clouds again.
Yeah.
I've got to go out for essential services. So.
No, we're not in lockdown.
We're driving into lockdown.
Everyone else is.
Oh.
We're Ballina, but we're not in lockdown. Everyone around us is. We just can't leave our area. Right. So we're in lockdown with the shops open. That's the difference.
You're in lockdown, yeah.
Yeah, we're not. We just can't go to any of the places around us. So you're not allowed to leave here, but all of our shops are still open, so we're good for now.
Nice.
So my key takeaways are I'm going to just be I'm going to get third bin to separate the constantly separate the food. When I clean out the fridge and everything, I do that and do the compost and but now I'm going to separate the bins. Just have a look a little bit more about any of the packaging that we are getting. And well, I'm already wild fit, so I don't need to worry about the food part in terms of those inflammatory bits. But
but maybe everyone else listening today might think about what's in their diet that could be an inflammatory, and just do a bit of research, just do a bit of reading on it. Have a think about it, see what you come up to your own decisions on.
Yeah. A little hint: look at the inflammation properties of sugar.
Oh yeah. Sugar's a whole other one.
Yes.
Nice.
Beautiful.
And of course, everybody, have an amazing day. I hope that this 6-week challenge is feeling you really, really good at the moment. You should be starting to be on the up. You should be noticing in yourself better focus. You should be able to feel a little bit better in yourself. And, like we're Wednesday, we're hump day on the downhill run. Like we're halfway through the halfway week. So it's all easy from here.
It is all easy from here. Step over, babe. They can't. We're on this one. We've got. Oh my God, that makes me sound so small. We're in week 4, so we're on the home stretch. But we're in it with you guys. So awesome.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow morning.
See you later.